I squat down and I pet the dog like a spiritual experience. Like there's not words. It was a feeling, because by that point I'm on my 25th year in prison. I'm an entirely broken man at that time. I just spent 10 years in solitary confinement, touching not even a human being. I was gonna die in prison. When I became part of this program, when I became part of the pack with the dogs, I get unconditional love in a way from Flynn that only my grandmother had ever given me. That's the only connection I could ever make. He accepts me. I belong. I'm part of a pack. Tried as an adult, convicted, lifer, juvenile lifer, worst of the worst. All titles I earned. Mm-hmm. But now, dog trainer, animal advocate.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Best Damn Dog Show. I'm your host, Henry, and today I'm super excited to have our guest with us by the name of Brian, and his story is just amazing. It has to do with being imprisoned, incarcerated, and his journey and path through redemption, and now currently as a dog trainer, right?
Yeah.
You can tell us a little bit about this journey and how you got started.
Okay, how I got started in the dog training, or
how you got into a situation where you got to take advantage of that program.
Okay. Well, I guess I'll run through the beginning where it all started, from ground zero, which was childhood, where I guess basically everything begins for everybody. So a picture of what was going on in my household as a child was I had a mother and father who were heroin addicts. I lived in a house that was consumed by addiction, which means as a kid, I'm not getting the basic needs that I need as a child, love, attention, food, water, because my parents are, addicted to this drug, in the throes of addiction and chasing this drug. So there's no time or attention to give to anything else other than that. And I know that because I turned into them later in life, but I didn't understand that at the time. All I know is my parents weren't showing up for me. So I began nurturing this thought inside my head, like, what the fuck is wrong with you that your own mom and dad don't want you? Which is not the reality, it's addiction, but I don't understand that concept yet. So I nurtured that inside my head for a long, long time. And as a child, as a human being, we need love, attention, acceptance, comfort, like just the basic things in life. So I went in search of it. And I found it in drugs, and I found it in gangs. I found it in drugs because I had an example in front of me my entire life of how to cope with problems. So, I started with weed, and I quickly moved to meth, and meth was, my problem. I got jumped into a gang. I reinvented myself. I got that love. I got the attention. I got the acceptance, because as a gang member, all that comes with it.
Yeah.
But the problem is it doesn't stay. You have to continue to earn it, and you have to continue to maintain that. And if you're living that life full-fledged like I was, like I did everything, you got to continue to put in work and commit crimes. And that's what I did. And it felt good because I got the pat on the back. That's right, homie. And the love.
The validation.
The validation. It was all about that. I craved it. I lived off that. So in and out of juvenile hall, in and out of camp, YA, until, one night after, been in jail multiple times, I'm using heavy drugs at this point. We're running around, we're violent, we have weapons, so many things. I'm doing so many things that are wrong, which is to say what I'm about to tell you right now is not a coincidence. It didn't just happen.
Right.
I set the stage for the life I was living. So we go into a party, and inside the party, there's a table. And on the table, they have cups of beer for $1 and shots for 50 cents. This is the 90s. So my boy goes up and he puts like a 50 or something down. He goes, let's just keep serving us for a while. So as I'm there, I'm taking little drinks here and there. Somebody comes up and there's a confrontation. These are rivals. And during the confrontation, it got broke up, and but the animosity was still there. So we left shortly after, and as we were walking outside the party, I got into a car, I drove away, and as I was all the way down the street ready to turn, we looked back, and I saw my friends fighting. There was a fight in the street. We immediately turned around, we ran back. There was a knife underneath the seat that of the car that I was riding in. I knew that from earlier. I reached under, I grabbed the knife, and I ran to the scene of where the fight was at. Without specifying the details of how it exactly, out of respect to the victims of the crime and things like that, I ended up swinging the knife and I stabbed this individual. When I say...
And this was a gang rival, and when you, just to clarify a little bit, because you are the gang you were affiliated with, was it like Hispanic? Why? Because you are Caucasian by...
Yeah, I am,
race,
yeah.
right? Okay.
Irish and Scandinavian, but I grew up in like the Cholo atmosphere of the 90s, in that environment, in that culture. My brother and sister are half Mexican, so I was very familiar and ingrained in that life. So, it was like a natural for progression for me. I got jumped into that neighborhood, and so yeah, these were rivals. And when I said it wasn't a random event, meaning that type of crime, like stabbing somebody, is never your first crime. Like, it started with fighting in school, to jumping people, to carrying weapons, to, you build up to that moment. Yeah. I worked myself up into that moment, and it was all about me wanting that acceptance of telling them, like, I'm willing to commit the ultimate pledge of allegiance to you guys. Like, I'm willing to take this dude entirely out to show you that the belief, the acceptance that you gave me, I'm worthy of it. Wow. And I mean, for me, even talking about that today is mind blowing that you can be in a mind state like that. But that was literally my reality at the time. He was stabbed a few other times after that. He ultimately ended up passing away a couple hours after that in the hospital. I was arrested the following morning. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So, and at what age were you?
That was I was 16. Yeah.
Wow.
Coming home from church.
Was there a witness? How did they know?
A white boy with 3 dots on his eyes. They were immediately like, okay, yeah, that's lonely. Cause at that time they had like a what they called the crash. So they had officers assigned to every neighborhood. So they were already familiar with me on the streets and in jail. I had been active, out there for a while.
Okay.
And so when it came up, I was easy to find. Right. They knew where I lived.
When
everything.
You say active for a while, it blows my mind because you were 16. It's like, so.
And if you think like for a while, because I mean, in that life, a while is a year. A while can be a summer. Because I got homeboys that got jumped in and they didn't even make it a while. They didn't even make it through the summer. Either got smoked, either got life. So in that world, I mean, the decision I made took 3 seconds. So a while in that world sometimes could be a week. Like, we've been going at it with them for a while.
Oh.
Or he's been gone for a while. Yeah, like, it's a trip how that word takes a whole other context in that. But yeah.
This is, and it just popped in my head. Since it is a dog show, at that time, did you ever have dogs in your life?
No.
As a child?
No. I loved them.
You never had one?
I was around them. I was always around them. Like, I would get the neighbors' dogs and walk them and things like that. I had a love for them. They were a part of my life. But my grandparents, I wasn't responsible. You know what I mean? So right. I didn't. Okay. I was never able to have my own.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So fast forward now, you catch this case.
Yeah. And... So ultimately, I got tried as an adult. I went through I was still 16, 17, but I was going through the adult system. I was convicted. 5 of us were convicted. 3 were sent to youth authority with 25 to life as juveniles, which means you get out at 25.
Okay.
And then 3 of us were convicted and given life sentences as adults. And I was 17. They shipped me to the county.
At 17.
At 17, as soon as I turned 18, on my birthday, I was on the bus to prison to Wasco.
Okay.
And from there, just hit prison, man. Just spent years, probably 15, 16 years, fully immersed in drugs, gangs, politics, everything, deep in that world until my grandmother died. And I could share a million war stories like throughout the process, but those come a dime a dozen.
Yeah, I'm more interested in where would you say because your grandma died? So what was the thought process, and what made you think like, wow, like how many more people are gonna die with me just being in here, or what were you thinking?
Well, for me,
she was real close to you because she took care of you, she raised you.
Yeah, grandmother raised me. Love of my life, my everything, the homeboy, the homegirl, the friend, everything I could ever want in life. She fulfilled all of that. We used to write back and forth 4 times a week. She would visit. Her name is right here. She was, that was Nana. That was everything. The one consistent person throughout my entire life. So I was going out to visit, and I was in the SHU at that time. I shared with you my time in solitary, and my mom was there. And I remember when she came in, I was looking behind the window. I had the phone, and I said, "Where's Nana?" And I saw like my mom, your family. I saw a twitch. Mm-hmm. I said, "What's wrong?" And her tears came down, and she just shook her head. And she explained to me that she died, and I heard that, and the phone fell, and I don't remember much. The visit was 45 minutes. They come, they open the tray slot, you turn around, they handcuff you up, and they take you back to your cell. Now, the biggest challenge of my entire life was I'm in the Corcoran SHU. This is probably like the most high-pressured, hostile environment that you could be. Like, there's no weakness shown, period. And I'm walking back, my biggest fear in life, devastated. And I remember biting the inside of my cheek and just swallowing over and over because I'm handcuffed and I'm walking by. They have the men in cages there. You have caged up. The worst of the worst is
in Corcoran. That's insane.
So I'm walking by and, hey, what's up, lonely? Like, what's up? And just trying to hold that for that walk. I remember just seeing the gate. I was in 2B at the time, just trying to get there. And even the cop at the time, he goes, "What's wrong?" Because he had known me for a long time. I don't know if he sensed the energy because they hold your arm when they're escorting you. I remember just saying my grandma. And he put me in the cell. And for like 30 days, like I couldn't describe the hell that I went through. Like sobbing on the ground, contemplating suicide. I went through a range of emotions. At the end, I decided somehow, some way, I'm gonna live in a way to honor my grandmother. I had zero idea what that meant. Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm an entrenched gang member. I'm a soldier in every sense of the word. Right. So it was just a slow process. I changed what I listened to, what I watched, the kind of conversations that I had. And it took years, but it slowly started to unravel. There were setbacks, there were relapses. Mm-hmm. But I came to the point to where I was walking in from the yard one day, and there was a sign on the wall that said, "Marley's Mutt's Pawsitive Change Dog Rescue Program. Sign up."
On the wall as you're walking?
On the wall. I'm coming in from yard recall. I'm getting ready to run in from the shower. I work in the kitchen in the afternoon. I'm on the cleanup crew. So I'm going to run in, shower really quick. And I got my shower roll and I ran back, and nobody had signed up yet. That's unheard of. A dog on a level 4 in Corcoran of all yards, that yard.
Wow. I always thought that was a program for guys that are lower levels. I would not think that's offered to some,
Well, for the most part, it's a program that, is designed for lower levels or like SNY inmates. It was not generally a general population level 4 yard. It was unheard of. But I mean, I'm at a place in life where I'm looking for something. The laws have changed. SB 260 was signed into law in Congress, and it said basically if you were arrested as a juvenile under the age of 18, we're going to give you a good opportunity to present yourself at the parole board with an opportunity to go home. That's all I needed. Yeah. My grandma had died. I'm starving for something. The law passed. Like, I was locked in. So I signed up. And I'll say about a month and a half later, Zach Scow, who I didn't know at the time, I just seen him coming across the yard with a dog on a leash. And it was crazy. Like, the whole yard, it was like if Kim Kardashian walked down the yard, like everybody would just like, wow. Yeah, it was a trip. And he starts making his way through the yard. Now in Corcoran, you don't just walk anywhere. There's like there's territory, there's boundaries, like there's pull-up bars, there's drinking fountains, there's toilets, and it's not all communal. Like some you use, there's times, you need to really understand the like the internal workings of a yard. But it was so a breath of fresh air to see Zach come walking through with this pit bull. And I'm literally like trying to move across the yard because I want to be in his path to let him know, hey, I signed up. I really wanted to get in that program. Yeah. So finally he comes up to me. I say, hey, what's up? My name is Brian James. My name is Zach Scow. I said, I signed up for your program. He goes, good, I'm excited. He started explaining a little bit about the program, what they're going to do.
What year was this?
2018, maybe 17, the end of 17.
Okay.
And
one more time, the name of the program?
Pawsitive Change.
Pawsitive Change.
It's under Marley's Mutt's Dog Rescue as well, which also was a product of Zach Scow.
Okay.
And but the thing I really wanted was, can I pet your dog? So it was a pit bull with a humongous like gash on his head. And I squat down and I pet the dog, and the only thing, like a spiritual experience, like there's not words. It was a feeling, because by that point I'm on my 25th year in prison. I'm an entirely broken man at that time because of my grandmother, and I'm trying to piece together this new human being that can present himself at board and go home, which had never even been on my radar going home. I was going to die in prison.
What was the one I think I heard on podcast about your parole officer?
They told me at 19 years old when I went to the board, when I asked them if I check every box, if I get a GED, if I get a trade, if I stay out of trouble, if I get insight, remorse, responsibility, can I go home? They literally laughed at me and said, your parole officer hasn't been born yet.
Wow.
And okay, fuck it. Yeah. And I pivoted towards the yard and never looked back until grandma. And a lot of times that's my message is, don't wait for that tragedy to make that change, because I'm living the rest of my life now in honor of her, but with the wondering, can she see? Does she know? Whether she does,
is she proud of me? And all that. Wow.
Of course I know she is. I know who she was. I know what she expected of me. I know how she raised me, because that's who I am now. But that's always my message. Don't wait for that moment of tragedy to pivot and make that change in your life. But petting that dog.
So you pet this pit bull.
Yeah.
How was the dog? I'm sure he brought in a good dog that was stable. But I mean, and you just felt an instant bond or an energy or with this dog.
It was just, I mean,
gave you hope, maybe like, oh my God, through this process, I might be able to get out of jail or prison.
Well, just the fact, if you think I just spent 10 years in solitary confinement, touching not even a human being, inside nothing but gray concrete, nothing, the most inhumane, desensitized environment you could ever imagine, where even my own sanity teetered on some days. Yeah. You know, I'm a voracious reader and a writer, which I think is the only thing that kept me sane. Yeah. But to come out of that, the death of my grandma, like just all those things happening, to like experience a dog and me being on that path, it's for me, it was just sort of like a sign, like you're like I'm on a level 4 in Corcoran, I'm petting a dog. And I'm maybe weeks away from actually being in a dog program, whatever that means.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, no idea. Right.
And they had cages on the yard. Like it was set up. They had a fenced off area with kennels, like training equipment. So it was happening. So about a month later, they call me out, and there's probably about 50 of us on the yard in a line in front of the program office. We're doing the interviews for the dog program. We had already submitted our essays on why we wanted to be.
Oh, so it wasn't just like sign here and they'll call you. It was like there was an essay process.
Well, you had to have
process.
you had to be a year without any disciplinary.
Okay, that's huge.
Obviously, no violence towards animals. I think those were like the main ones. Like a lot of people there didn't have a year without disciplinary. That was the problem. But the other things, you had to lift 25 pounds, just stuff like that. You have to be able to commit to it. So you submit the essay on why you wanted to be a part of the program, and then you do the interview. Walk into the interview, and Lisa Porter's right there, one of the other directors of the program, with her 3-legged dog right there. Got to pet that dog, was exciting too. We did the interview, and as soon as the interview was over, they let me know that I was part of the program. So it's just like doors are opening, laws are changing, dog program. Once they had it, it was a total, I would say 22 of us, and there were 7 dogs. So it'd be 2 people assigned to each dog.
Okay.
And the 2 people that they would assign to each dog would be people that are like polar opposites. Like the person that was assigned to train Flynn with me, which was the dog that we were assigned, it was a black dude from Northern California.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, so I mean, it was basically like the polar opposite of me.
Yeah, in every way to it.
Which is like one of the geniuses of the program, because it's you're building human bonds, dog training bonds. It's opening you up and preparing you for the world.
Yeah.
And so this guy who I had seen around. We've said what's up to each other, but we're in completely different worlds.
Affiliated?
Yeah.
So they put a northerner with you.
Well, he was African American, so it wasn't It was a
wasn't a direct enemy.
Like something like that. And there were not northerners on that yard at the time. Okay. But
you were cool with this guy.
Yeah,
You've
absolutely.
Seen him around.
No,
you guys are cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
We were both excited. What's up, man? We shook hands, and throughout the process of training Flynn, you have to work together. He worked on the yard crew in the morning, and I worked in the evenings in the chow hall. So we have to have a conversation like, hey, I got you in the morning. I'll do our program with Flynn. I'll do or whatever it is that me and him. And then when you're off work, he'll come and what's up, bro? Like this is what we did. Have a good one. I'll see you when I get back. So the communication has to be there. So you're developing these bonds, and this is foreign to us.
And you're telling him what you did so he can piggyback on that and build this dog.
Yeah, because the great thing with Pawsitive Change is they have you create goals, and you write down goals. What are your goals for your dog this week? You know what? I think his loose leash walking, I'd like him to tighten up on that. His recall, his stay, whatever it is at the time that you've created the goals for your week, you and your partner, you work on it.
Wow.
Yeah. And in the process, so much unfolds, so many like amazing moments. Training my dog, walking him through a yard, one of, if not the most violent yard in California, walking with my German Shepherd puppy, just through, I told you about areas and territories. Now I'm crossing into these right now. I'm getting invited into these areas, and they're saying, man, can I pet your dog? Hell yeah, you can pet my dog. And I had a dog when I was a kid, and now these conversations, now it just ripples across the yard. Now, don't get me wrong, people are still getting flatlined and all that stuff is happening, but there's a huge shift in the yard because of
this program
of 7 dogs and this program. It was huge.
And then the inmates got to see the progress the dogs made, right? Somewhat, sort of, kind of.
Yeah. I mean, these dogs, they're rescue dogs. They came in with
scared,
nothing, terrified.
Terrified.
Yeah. And
they're in a prison.
And the goal is to get CGC certified, Canine Good System, Canine Good Citizen certified through the AKC, which is a series of, like, they're pretty rigorous tests that you have to go through with your dog. And once they're certified, the goal is to get them adopted.
Okay.
Every Wednesday, they would come in and video our progress, what we're doing with the dogs. They would put it up on the internet where people would have the ability to see what we're doing, maybe pick a dog to adopt.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's super cool. So how long was this process? What was the one thing that stood out the most while you were training? This is a German Shepherd puppy?
Yeah, I did the program 2 times. The first time was a German Shepherd puppy. His name was Flynn.
Were you supposed to do it 2 times?
Well, the program came back the second time, and I was all over it. And I had, I was thriving in the first round, and I was growing as a human being. I had developed relationships with Zach and the trainers, so it was a natural for me to move on to the second round.
Okay,
there were so many things that stood out, but I guess, for me, somebody that's like a really introspective person, especially at that time, I'm literally learning and discovering myself, was realizing what I shared with you in the beginning, how love, acceptance, wanting to be a part of something. When I became part of this program, when I became part of the pack with the dogs, I get unconditional love in a way from Flynn that only my grandmother had ever given me. That's the only connection I could ever make. He accepts me. I belong. I'm part of a pack. I'm needed. Right. This dog doesn't eat without me. He doesn't exercise. He doesn't get the discipline, the affection, the training that he requires to be a balanced dog. So I have a responsibility. I realized all the things that had me gravitate towards the streets, towards gangs, this dog is literally filling me up, like, with all of that.
Wow.
And it was I remember when that epiphany hit me. I processed it for like a lot after. I'm a writer by nature, so I wrote about it, but that was probably one of the hugest moments. And then Zach used to always remind us that, this is a $90 billion a year industry. Like, so there's opportunities, and this is a world that we can come into. So I'm not going to be a bank teller. There's a lot of things that I'm just never going to be because of my choices, and I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
So you sort of define yourself. My whole life, juvenile delinquent, tried as an adult, convicted, lifer, juvenile lifer, worst of the worst, all titles I earned. But now, dog trainer, animal advocate.
Wow.
It used to blow my mind. And when you start calling me that, because every time you would call me something in life, worst of the worst, I'll live up to that expectation. I will be that,
Yeah.
Dog trainer, animal advocate, I'm being all that.
And you've never, and I'm sure all the homies were like, wow, they were proud of you. They were happy for you. Yeah. There was no resentment. Everybody, you're training dogs and changing lives.
A lot of times there's a narrative that, how do you get out of the gang? And it's not about getting out. You evolve as a human, and they watch you and they see you and they saw you come. I've been in prison my entire life, and they watched me evolve. Like, I was getting nothing but cheered for, advocated, like, lifted up.
Yeah.
It was a great experience all the way around.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. And it revolutionized my entire life.
So your second dog, what kind of dog?
Well, the first one, let me say too, as soon as the program started, we realized the dog was going to be adopted. I called my mom and to start the process.
To adopt the dog?
To adopt Flynn.
Okay.
And at the end of the program, they came to me and let me know the adoption process is complete. Following the graduation, your mom and sister will get the dog.
Wow.
So they adopted my dog.
That you trained?
That I trained.
Okay.
So on year 25 in prison, after, dragging my family through murder trials, a decade in the shoe, all up and down the grapevine, multiple level 4s, I get to invest and pour everything I can into a rescue animal and send it home to my family. Talk about, you think of, I used to be excited about, amazing letters that I wrote and sent home. I'm sending home an animal. Unbelievable. It was unbelievable. Like, a huge piece of me, especially after all that time. And my grandmother had passed away, so there's a big gap in the house.
Yeah.
So it was crazy how everything just came together.
And your family, they love this dog.
Loved him. Loved him.
So I think our mutual friend told me that. So when you got out, you got to see this dog.
So
right?
I got out. I sent the dog home after 4 years and maybe 5 months. After that program, I came home.
So how old was dog, and when she went there, and then how old? Okay, so 5 years after that. So was she like 2 or 3 years old when she got to your house?
Well, when I got Flynn, he was a male. He was 8 months old.
Oh, a male. Okay.
8, 9 months old.
Okay, so puppy.
Yeah, puppy. So about 4 something.
My favorite German Shepherds. That's how I got into training dogs.
Yeah,
it's
he's
just
the best.
the German Shepherd dogs. Is by far one of my favorite. And so the second dog was another.
Yeah, the second round. So the second round, I got a blue nose pit bull named Gemma. Big, beautiful dog. Like,
wow.
You would I'd walk around the yard, and people would either clear the track and get out of the way, or come up like completely mesmerized, wanting to pet Gemma. Sweet, sweet dog, but just had, just a nice look. Fell in love with the dog. On week 4, she got sick with pneumonia. Devastated. So, we called Zach. He said, don't train her today. Let her rest and monitor and let me know. So in prison, I'd wake up every morning at 5 o'clock and I would roll my mat up. I'd roll it up and tie it and put it in the corner. And, I would have my metal bunk. I'd cook, whatever it was. I'd conduct my activities. Well, I rolled up a blanket at the edge of my metal bunk, and Gemma laid on it. And
they let you keep the dog?
The dog could come in the cell, yeah.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. And I just laid on Gemma like a pillow for like 6 hours, and it was all bad. Like, there was zero energy. She wasn't herself. So they took her out. And we waited 2 weeks. So Wednesday was the day she was going to come back. And they told me early in the day, she's not going to come. They're bringing a new dog. Devastated. I was so devastated. So they brought in a new dog. And from big, powerful, beautiful Gemma, little Sheldon, this dog, 35 pounds, ratty hair, shaking, tail tucked all the way under, terrified. And he comes in, and I was like, wow. I go from this big, and a couple of guys go, dang, you got a little soft dog. Like, and I felt like in the beginning, because it stings. Gemma's gone.
A shepherd and a pit bull, and then this thing. Yeah.
And still part of you as an ego, you want this dog. The dog just jumped in my lap and curled up, and I swear, this dog, my mom goes, I'm not going to be adopting every damn dog that you train. And I was like, all right, I get it. So over the course of the 3 weeks, all I did was just show this dog love. And I literally watched the tail come out, the posture straighten out, the way it walked, like, it was amazing. And then we begun training. And in the process, I remember I called my mom and I was like, Mom, I know what you said, but Sheldon is my soulmate. You have to adopt Sheldon, please. Okay. She adopted Sheldon.
Stop.
Yeah. So I came home. Sheldon was right there. Flynn was right there.
Wow.
But in the process of both of those rounds in the Pawsitive Change dog program, I literally discovered myself as a human being, who I want to be in the world.
You almost made like kind of that metaphor with like the last dog, and just eventually came out of your shell. And
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, how did you being in that program affect any of the decision making during the parole process? I'm not sure, obviously, right? Big time, right? Yeah. Like, if it wasn't for this program, you might not have gotten paroled, correct?
So the biggest part of this program, what it did for me too, was nobody really paroles from a level 4.
That's why when I heard the story, I was like, that doesn't even make sense.
Yeah, especially Corcoran. So, and my points were so elevated. To go to level 4, you needed, I think, 51, 52 points. And I was at like 285 points. Yeah. God. And you could only lose like 17 points a year. So I could have been a perfect angel for like 40 years and I would have never dropped down to level 4.
Yeah.
But they implemented a program called a good behavior override. If you can go for 3 years without a write-up and you're programming within those 3 years, they'll let you go to a level 3. Wow. I hit my 3-year mark, no write-ups.
And no, you didn't have to do anything, put in any work, and like the homies weren't like trying to mess your program up, or you just like, I'm not doing that. Like, let me do my thing.
Yeah.
I know there's that involved in
absolutely.
politics, right?
Well, there's always the pressure, in those type of environments. But at that stage in my life, I'm 40 years old.
You have a lot of respect, I'm assuming.
I had caught, multiple years in prison for, crimes. Like I had given myself entirely to the cause. And the laws changed, and I had just done a decade in the shoe. So I'm really not the one that they're looking to, like, hey, in your younger years, it's, go handle that.
Yeah.
Like, and, and you're young, I was ready for all that. But yeah, you're kind of left alone.
Okay.
But there were occasions where, like, I'd be walking the tier or something with my dog, and they'd be, hey, do me a favor and pass that. And I would know what is in the envelope or whatever, and it would just, and I'd just keep moving.
Yeah. Don't put me in that position.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Yeah.
And I get it, but at the most. So, but for the most part, people knew the path I was on. And like I said, it was respected and supported.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. That's so cool.
Yeah.
So tell me about now. Like, what is it, how long you've been around and what are you doing now? And what are some of your goals and aspirations? Are you still currently training dogs? Like,
yeah.
What's going on now?
So today is day 922 free. Like on my Instagram, that's sort of like what I do. My day's free, and I kind of share just my life going about. It's an entirely new world. When I say 922 days, I've been an adult in the world 922 days. I went away at 16 and I came out at 45. So I'm literally, I drove here in my first car. I'm on my third job. I feel like I came out here in the world with my story. And I read a quote saying, you survived what you survived so you can be the blueprint for somebody else's life. Yeah. So I've just been out here just trying to, enjoy life and learn and go through all the experiences. Since I've been out, I have been training dogs. I worked at Pause for Life over here in Mission Hills.
Oh, yeah, they're right there. Yeah.
Yeah, which is such a dope program. I still connect with a lot of the guys from Pawsitive Change who are out here thriving right now.
Yeah. Oh, so there's multiple examples like you that are thriving in the dog industry.
Yeah, we got a little Pawsitive Change tribe out here.
Get them over here. We got to talk to some of these guys.
Wait till you meet Oscar and Nutvo.
And let's train together. I mean, that's just so cool. So let's talk about some of this training. So you're doing pretty much, is it not really behavior modification, but more like just getting a dog ready for the world kind of thing, right?
Exactly. Like
basic obedience, sit, stay, come, recall, all that stuff, heal. Yeah. Okay.
Basically, a client will contact you and you'll go to their home and, you assess the dog and create a plan with the client, what their needs are, what they would like, what their goals are, and help them achieve that. And it's so dope because like ex-lifers are kind of like really integrated into the dog training world and like making a difference. Like, it's so dope to see.
And, as for timing, to think about it now, there's more dog ownership now because of COVID and just too expensive to have kids. They have a saying that, pets are the new kids and kids are something rich people have, right? So, So if that's the case, you take a look at this marketplace. And what were you quoted? How many billions is this industry, right?
I mean, I think at last like 90 billion.
Right. And this industry, it's not, like, as a client, like, I'm not going to care if you're an ex-parole or ex-convict or what your past was. Just, can you make my dog do the right thing or behave? And that's really it, right?
Yeah.
And then that's, oh, man. It's
and
precious.
there's companies that have embraced us. LA Canines in Culver City.
Yes, I don't know.
Colleen Steckloff, like she's embraced everybody at Pawsitive Change, and being around her is just like watching Michael Jordan shoot hoops or something, like what she's able to do. Yeah. So there's so many. And so when somebody comes out, they'll always connect one of the guys in the program. They'll connect with Zach and we'll facilitate getting them a job or helping them, find their path.
That's so cool.
And the dope thing too, I just left Arizona with Zach too. He's trying to implement the program there. So what he's trying to do is take the pressure off shelters by opening up like shelters in prison and giving the inmates a job to actually run the shelter.
Wow. Okay.
So it relieves the pressure in there. It gives the the inmates in the prison a purpose, a job that they can come out to. It makes complete sense.
I mean, with a proven model, he can scale this all over the country and potentially the world, if you think about it.
That's the goal. Yeah, that's the goal.
And how crazy is it that you see a stone cold killer and they see a puppy and just melt and turn into this nicest.
That's what sells. Yeah, they got a dude just all slung back, tatted, full body armor, which is a little chihuahua on his arm. Like,
right.
That is a badass picture, though, when you think about it.
So tell the world, how do we get a hold of you? How do we hear more about your story? You got any projects you're working on?
Yeah. So the most recent thing that I did is, I'm always working on something. I got a lot of things, but I did a book called From Life Sentence to New Beginning. Mm-hmm. The most transformative 3 months of my life. So as soon as the dog program ended, I remember the following morning, a dog fills your entire life up. It's everything, especially you've been starving for so long. So to wake up in the next morning, it's quiet. The crates are all there. The leashes, everything's there. It's the most loudest silence I've ever heard in my entire life. And there was such a void, like I feed off energy. I can feel it with people. And for me, I turned to writing and I began writing a book. Mm-hmm. And I think I got about 50 pages in and something happened in prison. It got put away in a yellow manila envelope and I didn't find it till I got out.
Oh, wow.
I picked it up and I started going right away. So as soon as I finished it, I texted it into my tablet. I have a friend named Danny Zico over here in Canoga Park. I went into his studio and I read it. I read it off the tablet.
Yeah.
It's up on Spotify. It's on Apple.
And how do we find that again?
You can go to my Instagram as well. Free Bliss.
Okay.
Free Bliss 1. I have all the links and everything on there, but yeah. And also, in the process of being out there and sharing my story, I have developed a relationship with an award-winning director, and we've been working on a script. I've been kind of not been able to speak much about it, but I'm grateful to say that it's in development right now. Mm-hmm. We're moving into the financing stage. There's a lot of big names involved that people will recognize. It's a process. It's unbelievable. It's mind-blowing to me, but I'm so grateful. And I'm just going to try to continue with my motto of continue to do the next right thing. And in a world that's literally on fire, everybody's like attacking each other. I'm just sitting back trying to, make this world a better place in whatever small way I can,
I've seen a lot of people that have been incarcerated and come out and almost a fear of what to do or what's next. And a lot of people go back, unfortunately. And I see the best future for you. I can literally see it. I mean, it's so cool. And how ironic that we got to link up through this, I'm looking forward to more of these meetings and in conversations. And this is just I just want to thank you. Like speeches for you sharing this story. It's like one of the most intriguing stories I've heard.
Thank you, man.
And just letting the whole world out there know that, if you do the next right thing, maybe things will open up for you.
Yeah.
The fact that when you first got in there and your first half of your term that you were doing, you would never, ever even cross your mind, right? That this would be this program that will let you, first of all, if you were ever going to be able to getting out and let alone get out through this process.
Yeah, I mean, there's a thing about embracing hopelessness. That's literally what I did. I was done. I was dead. I was going to die in there. I literally used to look in my cell and say, this is my coffin. Yeah, that's what makes life so grateful for me today. Like I was literally dead. I was dead. I was kicked out of the world permanently. Everybody around me said, you're not going home. You're going to die in prison.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, once again, thank you so much. And thank you guys for joining us at the Best Damn Dog Show. And see you guys next time.